a lot of times you start with their social media. You say, okay, a lot of times on their Twitter or Instagram account, there is contact info, whether it's their manager, their booking agent, or sometimes themselves, are right there. You could try DMing people on Instagram. Sometimes I've publicly tweeted people, like someone who's not following me on Twitter who I can't DM. I'll say, hey, let's do an interview. And I'll just at them. And then sometimes they'll respond, and sometimes they'll turn into an interview. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes you get into an argument with that person. Sometimes they'll publicly tell you they'll never interview with you, and that's fine. Sometimes, IMDb, a lot of actors have IMDb pages, and then when you sign up to IMDb Pro, that actually gives you their booking information and so forth. So we've gotten that way. A lot of times it's networking. Hey, I know this person who knows that person. So I'll reach out to that person and ask for an introduction. We have people that we pay that help set up interviews for us, outside of our company, just outside contractors that they know, like, hey, look, if they bring this person, there's a couple $1,000s waiting for them after that interview is done. And, and we since we run a legitimate, fair business, they know that we're good for it, and the list goes on. And then a lot of times people approach us. We get emails every day for people who want to do interviews, and you never know. We did the Migos first interview before anyone knew who they were outside of Atlanta. You never know who the next big star is, and then that becomes very, very valuable footage. To have Migos first interview, as big as Migos are right now, that's valuable. And we hope to keep creating this valuable, what we call evergreen content, meaning that it's not just about what's happening right now. This is a person's story that's very relevant 10, 20, 100 years from now. So that's how we approach it.
So if you're in jail or if you're in prison, what Vlad just said is valid. It's exactly what I wrote about. If you're going to try, you may not be trying to reach out to celebrities. You may not have access to Instagram or DM people, but here's what you do have access to, which is the same thing I had access to. And it's this piece of high technology right here. And that's how I got into school. Just start writing letters and reaching out. This is what I want to do. I want to get an education. You tell them your story and somebody might bite. And I'm just so grateful to guys like DJ Vlad who come in and help me spread this message inside of jails and prisons, because it's the same principle that they are doing. They're not waiting around for somebody to fall into their lap. They're taking action. They're taking a deliberate path. And he just not rattled off 10, 15 of them. And you can do the same thing, even if you're locked in a jail cell. But if you want to...
we've interviewed people in jail over the phone. We just did a big one right now. I can't announce what it is, but it is a very major story about someone involved in an extremely major crime who's doing life in prison right now. We've interviewed, guys like Big Lurch, who were convicted of eating somebody while high on PCP, who's doing life in prison. Mac Minister, who was convicted of killing a guy who they thought killed Mac Dre, who's doing like triple life. We've done a lot of interviews with people in prison, and I guarantee you that anyone who's locked up in prison right now in a federal or state penitentiary, there's probably some famous people around, in their prison that you could actually interview, whether in whatever way, or you just form that relationship. Once you get out, you would reach back to that person and you could conduct something over the phone, which is really how we did it. We've never gone into a prison physically with cameras, but we have, put money on people's books so they can make phone calls, and then recorded those phone calls with their permission, of course.
Well, we're in high security penitentiaries. In fact, funny story, when I was in Lompoc, a warden, actually was the captain at the time, locked me in the shoe for doing what I am doing now, which is interviewing guys in the prison and writing their stories. I got locked in segregated housing unit while I was at the penitentiary. I get out, 10 years later or so, and I'm doing public speeches for judicial conferences about what we need to do to reform the prison system. We need to create programs to teach and inspire guys. And that guy then had become a warden. He invited me back into the United States Penitentiary, Atlanta. That's why our program, or rather in Atwater, California, that's what got me started at the Bureau of Prisons. Then he became the warden at the ADX Supermax. Brought me to ADX Supermax, and I got an interview or speak there in front of Tommy Silverstein, the founder of the Aryan Brotherhood, some other guys, high-level criminals at the ADX, and now they're going to get a listen to this story. So if you want to reach out and you're in one of those high-security prisons and you got a story to tell, I encourage you to reach out to our team here at DJ Vlad, who may want to tell your story.